You probably think they're out there living their best life, don't you? You see the staged photos or you hear the rumors, and it feels like a punch to the gut because you're the one who walked away with the scars. But I want you to lean in and listen closely, because what you're seeing is a carefully curated lie. Behind that polished curtain, the person you knew is trembling. They are standing on the edge of a total mental collapse. It's a strange kind of silence that follows when you finally walk away for good. You expect a roar, but sometimes you just get this eerie, hollow stillness. You might feel guilty, or maybe you're still waiting for the other shoe to drop. But while you are doing the hard work of healing, something else is happening on the other side of that bridge you burned. The person who tried to break you is actually the one who is breaking apart. For years, you were the mirror they used to prove to themselves that they existed. You were the light in their darkness, the one who regulated their chaotic emotions when they couldn't do it themselves. Now that you're gone, they are left in a room with no mirrors and no light. It's a terrifying reality for a narcissist. Without your energy to feed on, their internal world is starting to cave in, and they don't know how to stop the air from escaping. Think about the energy it took for them to keep you in that cycle of confusion. It was a full-time job of manipulation, gaslighting, and control. When you left, you didn't just take your love with you. You took the scaffolding that held up their entire false identity. They are currently scrambling to find a replacement, but nothing fits quite like you did. The desperation is setting in, and it's a cold, sharp feeling they can't run from anymore. You've probably spent so many nights wondering if they ever truly cared, or if they even feel the weight of what they did to you. The truth is actually much darker. They don't feel the weight of the harm they caused you, but they are feeling the crushing weight of their own inadequacy. The collapse isn't about missing you as a human being. It's about the terrifying realization that they are losing their grip on the world they tried to dominate. Imagine building a house on a foundation of sand and then wondering why the walls are cracking during a storm. That is the narcissist's life right now. You were the only thing keeping that sand from shifting, and now that you've stepped away, the erosion is happening in real time. They are looking for someone, anyone, to blame, but for the first time, their accusations are falling on deaf ears. The audience they once had is slowly walking away. There is a specific kind of panic that happens when a narcissist realizes they can no longer control the narrative. They've spent their whole lives telling a story where they are the hero or the victim, but never the villain. But you, by leaving, rewrote the ending. You broke the script. Now, they are standing on a stage with no lines and no cues, staring into a dark theater. That silence is the sound of their psychological walls finally crumbling. I know it's hard to believe when they look so fine on social media. But remember, the narcissist's greatest skill is performance. They are masters of the aesthetic of happiness. Underneath that veneer, however, is a person who cannot stand to be alone with their own thoughts. The mental collapse isn't always a loud explosion. Sometimes it's a slow, agonizing rot from the inside out. And they are currently feeling the first few layers begin to turn. You were their safety net, even when they were treating you like trash. You provided the stability that allowed them to be unstable. Without you there to catch them or absorb the impact of their bad behavior, they are hitting the ground hard. This collapse is the natural consequence of a life built on exploitation. They are finally meeting the one person they've spent their entire lives trying to outrun, themselves. And they are absolutely terrified. In this video, we are going to pull back the veil on what is actually happening in their mind right now. We're going to talk about the stages of this collapse and why your absence is the ultimate catalyst for their undoing. This isn't about revenge, it's about understanding the mechanics of a broken soul. Because once you see the truth of their fragility, they lose their power over you forever. You aren't the victim anymore, you are the one who survived. To understand why they are breaking, you have to understand what they are built of. Think of the narcissist's ego as a grand, elaborate theater set. It looks magnificent from the front row, but if you walk backstage, you see it's held together by duct tape and hope. They don't have a core identity, they only have a series of masks. And you, my friend, were the one holding up the most important part of that entire structure for a very long time. A narcissist functions on something called narcissistic supply. It's not just a fancy term, it's their literal oxygen. They need your attention, your reaction, and your validation to feel like they are real. When you cut that off, it's like pulling the plug on a life support machine. They start to experience a psychological hypoxia. Their brain begins to misfire because it can't find the external fuel it needs to maintain the illusion of being superior. You were a high-quality source of supply because you actually cared. You gave them deep, empathetic energy that they could never generate on their own. When you left, they didn't just lose a partner, they lost a power plant. Now, they are trying to plug themselves into low-voltage sources, random strangers, casual flings, or enablers, but it's not enough. Their internal battery is draining, and the low-power warning is flashing red. Have you ever seen a child throw a tantrum because they lost their favorite toy? Now imagine that child is in an adult's body with a lifetime of resentment. That's the narcissist in the early stages of collapse. They are experiencing a primitive form of rage because the world isn't bending to their will anymore. They feel a profound sense of unfairness. In their mind, you cheated by leaving, and they are struggling to process that loss of control. Underneath the arrogance, every narcissist carries a bottomless pit of shame. It's a black hole they've been trying to fill since childhood. Usually, they use people like you to cover that hole with flowers and beautiful things. But now that you're gone, the cover has been ripped off. They are staring directly into that void, and it's staring back. The mental collapse is what happens when they can no longer find enough distractions to avoid the pit. Their internal dialogue right now is a chaotic mess of self-loathing and grandiosity. One minute they think they are a god who doesn't need anyone, and the next, they are hit with a wave of paralyzing worthlessness. They have no middle ground. They don't have the emotional tools to self-soothe, so they spiral. It's like a plane losing its engines at 30,000 feet. They are trying everything to stay airborne, but the gravity of reality is winning. You might notice them acting more impulsively than usual. Maybe they are spending money they don't have, or getting into reckless situations. This is frantic effort. They are trying to create enough external noise to drown out the internal screaming. If they can stay busy or stay high on some new drama, they don't have to feel the collapse. But drama is a temporary fix. Eventually, the party ends, the lights go up, and they are still empty. The narcissist's mind is essentially a hall of mirrors. They see themselves in everyone they encounter. When you were with them, you gave them a beautiful reflection. Now, everyone they meet feels like a distorted, ugly version of their own failures. They are starting to project their self-hatred onto everyone around them, which is driving people away. This isolation is the fuel for their breakdown. They are becoming the very thing they feared most. They are losing the ability to keep their story straight. One of the first signs of a mental collapse is the failure of their gaslighting. They start forgetting which lie they told to whom. The web is getting too tangled, and they are getting caught in their own threads. It's exhausting to maintain a fake life, and they are reaching the point of total burnout. The brain can only sustain that level of deceit for so long before it simply begins to shut down. What you are witnessing, or what is happening out of your sight, is a total system failure. The operating system of the narcissist is built on the belief that they are untouchable. Your departure proved they are vulnerable. That single realization is like a virus that is currently corrupting every file in their mind. They aren't just sad that you left, they are experiencing a fundamental crisis of existence. They are realizing that they might not exist at all. Then comes the moment where the mask doesn't just crack, it shatters. Usually, this happens when their Hoover attempt fails. They reach out to you, expecting you to fold like you always did, but you don't. You stay silent. Or you give a cold, businesslike response. That no from you is like a physical blow to their psyche. It's the definitive proof that their power is gone. This is where the panic turns into something much more dangerous, despair. They will try to find a replacement you almost immediately. You'll see them with someone new and wonder how they could move on so fast. But look closer. That new person is usually a downgrade, or someone they can easily manipulate. It's a rebound of the ego. But because it's not built on anything real, the new supply starts to feel stale very quickly. The narcissist realizes that the problem wasn't the partner. The problem is the hole inside them. This is the turning point where the narcissist starts to lose their social standing. They might start smearing you more aggressively, but it feels desperate now. People are starting to notice the bitterness. The charm that used to work like magic is starting to feel oily and forced. Their friends and family are beginning to see the patterns. The narcissist senses the shift in the room, and for the first time in their life, they feel genuinely small. Imagine a predator that has lost its ability to hunt. That is a narcissist who can no longer find high-quality supply. They become scavengers. They settle for cheap attention and superficial praise, but it leaves them feeling hungry and agitated. This hunger turns into a physical restlessness. They can't sleep, they can't focus, and they start making mistakes at work or in their daily responsibilities. The brilliant facade is being replaced by incompetence. They begin to obsess over you in a way that is almost pathological. Not because they love you, but because you are the one piece of the puzzle they can't fit back into the frame. They check your social media, they ask mutual friends about you, and they replay your old arguments in their head. They are looking for a way to win the breakup, but there is no winning when the other person has stopped playing the game. Your indifference is killing them. Have you ever seen a building being demolished from the inside? You see the dust coming out of the windows before the walls fall. That's where they are now. The internal explosions are happening. They might start reaching out to people from their past, trying to rekindle old flames or friendships they threw away years ago. It's a desperate attempt to find a version of themselves that isn't broken. But those people have moved on, and the doors are staying shut. The narcissist's magical thinking starts to fail them. They've always believed they could manifest whatever they wanted through sheer force of will or manipulation. But now, the universe seems to be saying no. Their car breaks down, their plumbing leaks, their health flares up. These normal life stressors feel like targeted attacks because they don't have the emotional resilience to handle minor inconveniences. They are becoming incredibly fragile. The shift in power is now complete. You are the one with the peace, and they are the one with the chaos. They can feel the shift, and it drives them into a frenzy. They might try to provoke you one last time with something truly outrageous. A legal threat, a fake health crisis, or a public scene. It's the extinction burst. A final, desperate explosion of toxic energy before the flame goes out. If you don't react, you have effectively ended their reign. They are now entering the void phase. This is a period of deep, dark isolation where they realize that no one is coming to save them. The enablers are tired, the new supply is confused, and you are gone. The narcissist is left with the one person they hate most, themselves. This is the peak of the collapse. The brain starts to retreat into a state of narcissistic mortification, a psychological shock so deep it feels like an actual death of the personality. It's a grim sight, honestly. If you saw them right now, you might actually feel sorry for them. But you have to remember that this collapse is the only time they are actually being honest with themselves. The pain they are feeling is the truth they've been running from for decades. You didn't cause this. You just stopped being the shield that protected them from it. They are finally experiencing the reality of their own soul, and it is a very lonely place to be. Now we enter the territory of the unraveling. This is where the consequences become visible to the naked eye. The narcissist who used to be impeccably dressed might start looking disheveled. The one who was always on top of their game starts missing deadlines and losing their grip on reality. They are losing the energy required to maintain the perfect person. The physical body starts to reflect the internal decay, and it's a jarring transformation to witness. They start to become paranoid. Because they've spent their lives using people, they assume everyone else is doing the same to them. They start seeing enemies everywhere. They think people are whispering about them, or that you are secretly plotting their downfall. This paranoia makes them lash out at the few people they have left, effectively burning the last few bridges they had. They are creating their own prison, one brick of suspicion at a time. The narcissistic injury has now become a permanent wound. Usually, they can heal an injury by finding new supply, but this collapse is different. It's systemic. It's like their immune system has failed. Every small criticism feels like a mortal insult. They spend their days ruminating on how unfair life is. They become the ultimate victim in their own story, but it's a pathetic, unconvincing version of victimhood that no one is buying anymore. Their social circle begins to shrink until it's just them and their own echoes. The people who once admired them start to see the cracks. They notice the inconsistency, the cruelty, and the weird, desperate energy. One by one, the flying monkeys fly away. They realize that being associated with the narcissist is becoming a liability. The narcissist is left in a digital and physical wasteland, screaming into a phone that nobody is answering anymore. The most profound consequence is the loss of their future self. Narcissists live for the someday, when they will finally be famous, rich, or universally loved. During a collapse, that future vanishes. They realize that they are getting older, and the grand prize they thought they were owed isn't coming. The realization that they are just an ordinary, aging, lonely person is a psychological death sentence. It's a level of grief they are totally unprepared for. They might start engaging in self-sabotage as a way to regain a sense of control. If they can't be the best, they'll be the biggest disaster. It's a scorched earth policy. They'll quit a good job, ruin a promising opportunity, or break a valuable possession. It's a way of saying, "You can't fire me, I quit." But the only person they are truly hurting is themselves. They are burning their own house down just to feel the warmth of the fire for a few minutes. The silence of your absence becomes a physical weight in their life. Every time they walk into a room where you used to be, or see an object that reminds them of you, they are reminded of their failure. Not the failure of losing your love, but the failure of losing their grip on you. They are haunted by the fact that you survived them. The knowledge that you are out there, breathing and thriving without them, is a constant, stinging reminder of their powerlessness. They may descend into various forms of escapism. This is often where addictions worsen, whether it's alcohol, gambling, or endless hours of mind-numbing scrolling. They are trying to numb the sensation of their own ego dissolving. But the numbness only makes the void feel bigger. They are trapped in a loop of seeking temporary relief that leads to deeper misery. The collapse is no longer an event. It has become their new, dark, and permanent reality. There is a specific kind of coldness that settles over a collapsed narcissist. They become a ghost of who they were. The vibrant, charismatic predator is gone, replaced by a hollow shell that just goes through the motions. They have no joy, no passion, and no connection to the world around them. They are living in a psychological purgatory. They have been stripped of their armor, and the world feels like a very sharp, very cold place for someone with no skin. This is the end of the road for the version of them you knew. That person is gone. What's left is the raw, unprocessed trauma they tried to project onto you. You have to realize that there is no fixing this. There is no going back to save them. The collapse is a necessary consequence of their choices. It's the universe finally balancing the scales. They are finally living the life they tried to force upon you. A life of confusion, fear, and total isolation. I want you to take a deep breath and feel the air in your lungs. Do you feel that? That's peace. It's a peace that was bought with a very high price, but it's yours now. While they are spiraling into their own darkness, you are standing in the morning light. The mental collapse of the narcissist isn't your victory, your healing is. You don't need to dance on their grave to be free, you just need to keep walking away until they are a tiny speck in the rearview mirror. You might feel a lingering urge to check on them, or to see if they've finally learned their lesson. But I'm telling you now, don't look back. Looking back at a collapsing narcissist is like looking at a black hole. It will only try to pull you back into the gravity of their chaos. They don't need your pity, and they certainly don't deserve your help. Their collapse is their journey to walk. Your journey is about reclamation. It's about taking back every piece of yourself. There is a profound beauty in the person you are becoming. You've been through the fire, and you didn't just survive, you were refined. The empathy that they tried to weaponize against you is now your greatest strength. You can see the world with a clarity that most people never achieve. You know the difference between a mask and a soul. That knowledge is your armor. It will protect you from ever falling for the same performance again. You are finally narc-proof. Think about the energy you used to spend trying to manage them. Imagine what happens when you turn all that energy toward your own dreams, your own body, and your own joy. You are a powerhouse of potential that has been held back by a parasite. Now that the parasite has detached and is dying off, you are going to experience a level of growth that will shock you. You aren't just moving on, you are leveling up. The best parts of your life are just beginning. The narcissist's collapse is a reminder that evil is ultimately unsustainable. It's a house of cards that eventually meets the wind. You are the wind. You are the truth that the lie couldn't handle. By choosing yourself, you upheld the balance of the world. Never feel bad for being the person who walked away. You didn't break them, you just stopped allowing them to break you. There is a massive, fundamental difference between the two. You are the hero here. I want you to forgive yourself for the time you spent in that house of mirrors. You weren't weak, you were being lied to by a professional. You were a kind person who assumed everyone else had a heart like yours. That's not a character flaw, it's a beautiful trait that just needed a better boundary.